The first light of dawn stretched across the East African savanna like an artist's gentle brush, setting the tall grasses ablaze with golden hues and painting a tranquil masterpiece beneath a sky still heavy with night's promise. In that hushed expanse, where silence is the guardian of secrets and every shadow hides the pulse of life, an olive-green patrol vehicle trundled along a well-worn dirt track. Behind its wheel sat John, 40 years old, American by birth, with shoulder-length blonde hair that caught the morning sun and eyes touched by a certain melancholy. For over a decade, this ranger had belonged to the sanctuary just as surely as the ancient acacia trees and winding streams. He knew every hollow log where a leopard might hide, every dried riverbed that led to hidden waterholes, and above all, he understood the intricate rhythms of its wild inhabitants. Even now, as he drove alone, John felt a bittersweet comfort in the familiar symphony around him. The steady drone of insects waking from night, the distant chorus of birds greeting daybreak, and the whisper of wind through acacia canopies. Each sound was a note in nature's grand orchestra, a concert John had attended so many mornings that he could have conducted it blindfolded. Like countless others before him, today his duty was to ensure the reserve's safety, to thwart poachers lurking in the shadows, and to protect the delicate balance of life. But as the vehicle crested a low rise, John's instincts told him to stop. There, on a stretch of grass tinged ochre by the dawn, stood a sight so bizarre that for a fleeting moment he thought his eyes were tricking him. A pride of lions had gathered quietly, and at its centre, the dominant male stood on his hind legs, paws clasped together before his chest in a posture that looked almost prayerful. His thick russet mane haloed like a living flame against the pale morning sky, and his amber eyes locked onto John with an intensity that was neither aggressive nor curious. It was pleading. Around him, the adult lionesses formed a loose circle, their gazes fixed on him with an expression that spoke not of hunger, but of concern. John killed the engine, his heart hammering in his chest. He had spent more than 10 years patrolling this sanctuary. He had seen lions hunt, lions roar, lions defend their territory. But never had he witnessed a lion display such vulnerability, such a desperate appeal. He sat for several seconds, unable to move as disbelief twisted in his gut. Finally, his discipline as a ranger overcame his shock. He undid the seatbelt, his hand instinctively hovering near the rifle, slung across his shoulder, and eased open the door. The male lion remained frozen in that strange, almost reverent stance, as though every fibre of his being was focused on a single, silent plea. John took a careful step forward, then another, gently calling out, "Hey, what's wrong?" Of course, the lion could not understand his words, but John had learned that animals respond to tone and intent. As he spoke, the lion tilted his head slightly, then turned his gaze toward a dense thicket not far away, an unmistakable signal. It was as if the lion was saying, "Help him!" A knot of apprehension coiled in John's stomach, but something deeper tugged him onward. Curiosity, compassion, and a sense that if he did not follow, this creature might perish. The lionesses, tense but not hostile, fell in behind John as he edged toward the thicket. At intervals, the male lion would glance back, ensuring John was still coming. In the silence, punctuated only by John's cautious footsteps and the faint rustling of leaves, time seemed to slow. Then came the faint, heart-wrenching whimper, a sound so human in its pain that John felt his throat tighten. He pushed aside a curtain of thorny branches and froze. There, tangled in a cruel wire snare, lay a young adult male lion. His fur was matted with dust and dark with blood, where the snare had cut into his hind leg. Each breath he drew trembled in agony, and his wide, terrified eyes locked onto John's with a mix of fear and pleading. John's chest constricted as understanding washed over him. The dominant male had recognized the danger of this snare, but lacked the means to free his kin. In that vulnerable moment, he had set aside all pride to approach John, the one creature he might instinctively view as a threat, and beg for help. John swallowed, forcing himself to stay calm. With a swift motion, he reached into the passenger seat and yanked open his toolkit. The lionesses formed a protective semicircle, their ears pinned, muscles coiled, but their eyes never leaving John. He approached the trapped lion slowly, his voice low and soothing as he murmured, "It's okay, boy. I'm here to help." The young lion's breaths came fast and shallow. His eyes flickered with pain and confusion. John knelt a safe distance away, selecting wire cutters with steady hands, even though every instinct screamed caution. Time itself seemed to hold its breath as he worked to loosen the snare. The wire had bitten deep into flesh. Flecks of red dotted the grass below. Hair below. When the final loop fell free, the young lion collapsed in relief, legs collapsing beneath him. John gently tore a clean cloth from his kit and pressed it against the bleeding wound, wrapping it as best he could with strips of gauze. The puncture was deep, but miraculously not life-threatening. He applied a basic antiseptic from his first aid pack, wincing at the lion's soft whimper, but steadying his hands until the injured creature fell into a fitful, grateful stillness. The young male, his wounds tended, managed a painful hobble toward the center of the pride. John watched as he leaned into the lionesses, seeking comfort. But the moment that stole John's breath was when the dominant male stepped forward. With deliberate gentleness, he lowered his great head until it rested against John's leg, pressing as if to say. The vibration of his rumbling purr seemed to echo across the savannah, a primal gesture of gratitude that transcended barriers of species. Standing there, heart-pounding, John felt the weight of what had just occurred. In this harsh, unforgiving world, a lion, the very emblem of strength and pride, had humbled himself to ask a human for aid. In return, John risked his own safety to honor that trust. Slowly, he backed away to give the pride space. As the lioness nuzzled the rescued male, the dominant lion turned toward John one last time, his amber eyes lingering like a promise that he would never forget. From that day on, John's patrols felt different. No longer did he wander the dusty tracks, believing himself alone in this vast wilderness. Somewhere out there, he knew, was a pride that considered him a friend. A bond forged in pain and kindness. He resumed his rounds, but he carried a new sense of humility and warmth, an understanding that kindness can take root even in the harshest landscapes. Seasons changed, and the sands of time shifted across the savannah. The young lion grew stronger each year, his mane thickening and darkening, until it glowed like burnished mahogany in the afternoon sun. Word began to spread among the rangers. This lion was becoming one of the reserve's most prominent males, powerful, fiercely protective of his pride, and unmistakable in his bearing. One afternoon, years later, John was driving through a remote area on routine patrol when a roar split the air, shaking his bones. It was not the familiar, rolling rumble of his pride's territory. This roar was raw, angry, a challenge. Instinctively, John eased the throttle and followed the sound until he came upon a scene that churned his blood. Two prides of lions locked in a brutal, territorial battle. Dust rose in thick clouds as manes flew, claws slashed, and roars collided. John recognized the scent and markings of one pride, his friends, but the other group was foreign, their eyes wild with hunger for new territory. From his vantage point in the olive-green patrol vehicle, John watched with mounting concern. At first, it seemed the aging dominant male of his pride was overwhelmed. A massive intruder pinned him, teeth bared, honey's teeth gleaming in the afternoon light. Would his pride be driven out of their home? Then a new roar echoed, deep, resonant, unmistakable. John's heart leaped as he recognized the sound. The mature lion he had saved so many years before. In a blur of motion, that lion hurtled into the fray alongside the elder male, unleashing a thunderous bellow that rattled the bones of every lion within earshot. Muscles rippled beneath his dark mane as he struck the intruders, with ferocity that stole John's breath. In that instant, the tide of battle turned. Under the leadership of the once rescued lion, the resident pride rallied. One by one, the invaders faltered, claws ripped free from flesh, breathing ragged gasps, until at last they fled, defeated, their challenge, crushed. John exhaled in relief, but his breath caught sharply when a wounded lion from the beaten pride, its body slick with fresh blood, broke away and charged straight at him. There was no time to react. The beast's paws pounded the ground, claws extended, miles of rage focused on John's vehicle. So, his heart slammed against his ribs. Was this how it would end? Then, like thunder across the plains, the grown-up lion John had once freed roared. He leapt at the intruder, intercepting its attack in a blur of dark mane and flashing claws. The two lions clashed, jaws snapping, muscles straining, in a desperate life-and-death struggle mere feet from John's window. John could only hold his breath, watching as his friend fought with everything he had. After what felt like an eternity, the intruder collapsed, defeated. The dust settled. Silence fell, broken only by John's ragged breathing. Then, slowly, the triumphant lion turned toward him. He stopped a few feet from the vehicle, his chest heaving, eyes shining, bright. And for a heartbeat, man and beast locked gazes. John saw in those amber eyes the same gratitude and bond that had flickered between them all those years ago, in that thicket. The lion lifted his massive head, gave a single soft nudge to the grass at John's feet, and then, with one last lingering look, turned to join his pride as they receded into the tall grasses. John sat in the driver's seat, chest heaving, tears prickling his eyes. Yes, he had saved a life years ago, and this life had saved him. In that wild, unforgiving place, compassion had blossomed into a bond stronger than fear or pride. He knew from that moment on that he would never again feel alone on his patrols. Somewhere out there, a loyal friend watched over him. So, today, the tale of the ranger and the lion is legend throughout the reserve. It stands as a testament to the fact that, even in the harshest wilderness, acts of kindness can create connections that transcend every boundary. The savannah remains a realm of raw beauty and untamed peace, and the story of John and his lion friend will be told for generations, of how a single moment of compassion set in motion a friendship that would save both their lives. What emotions did this tale evoke in you, our viewers? Did the lion's desperate plea stir your empathy? Were you moved by the unlikely bond forged between a ranger and the magnificent creature he once saved? We would love to hear your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into the heart of the African savannah and the extraordinary connections that can blossom in the wild, please consider subscribing to our channel for more stories that celebrate the wonders of our natural world. Your support helps us continue to bring these captivating narratives to you. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the fiercest among us need a helping hand, and sometimes that hand comes from the most unexpected friend.